What's up, guys? How we doing?
Good, yay!
Good morning.
Woo!
Who's excited to tackle today?
Yeah, me.
Cool. Sweet. This is our last. This is our last worship thing. So sad. Ever. Thank you guys for sticking with us for the semester. Really means a lot. And really, before we get going, I just wanted to say, on behalf of the worship team, we are incredibly thankful for all of you. It doesn't what am I trying to say? We don't take for granted the fact that we have such awesome worship leaders. And we wouldn't want anybody else but you guys here, leading worship with us. So thankful for you. Hope you guys know you're not just bodies that help us do services here, but you're genuine people that are vital to this church. So we're thankful for you, for your time. Cool. Today, we're going to be talking about really the idea of creating new music, why we do it, and really kind of asking the question of what makes it okay to make music. So that's what we're going to do at first. So I'm just going to ask you guys, what makes it right to create new music? Boom. Big question. Someone answer. Creating new music. Why do we do it? What makes it right? That kind of stuff.
You mean writing new stuff?
Oh, yeah. I will not continue.
That's a talent that the Lord provided, and I think it's good to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
In a way, and use it in the right way.
Yeah. Well, it's really cool. So, how about one more person? And then I'll just communicate.
Well, I would just say that, looking at Genesis 1, when God created everything, He set the tone for us.
Yeah. Create. Which is really cool. So, yeah, and I think if we look at the history of the church, writing music, creating, that has been a part of the church since the first century even, which is really cool. Actually, a fun fact. So y'all know Colossians 1, the part where it's he's the image of the invisible God, firstborn of all creation. They actually think that is a song. That a lot of scholars think that is a song that's being circulated through the churches, which is really cool because it's real imagery and rhythm and it's really cool. But yeah, so songs are a huge part of the church. And I think specifically trying to today kind of tackle this idea that each context kind of has its own expression. Okay, so I think if we kind of bottleneck it, we start off with we have a way of thinking about God in the 21st century as human beings, right? And then bottlenecking that down, we have a way of thinking about God as Americans, right? Bottlenecking even further, we have a way of thinking about God as West Texan people, and then even further, people from West Lubbock, and then even further, Redeemer, right? So there's an expression all the way down to the bottom of that bottleneck. Does that make sense? So when we write music, we're trying to express the way we think about God, okay? And it changes as each generation kind of comes and goes, okay? Cool. So we're going to get going. God's people are a singing people. We can look in the Bible, see. Also, you have a handout, and it'll all make sense here in a bit. In the Old Testament to the New Testament, and even reading church history, we kind of talked about, we could come across songs that are sung by the church when they gather together. So when we sing songs, it's this really cool idea of marrying theology and doxology. So what we know about God with how we worship God, and that we worship God, right? There's a quote, it's in your handout, by Martin Luther, the great German monk. And he says, in summa, next to the word, so to end my thought, in summa, next to the word of God, the noble art of music is the greatest treasure in the world. It controls our thoughts, minds, hearts, and spirits. He goes on to say that this precious gift has been given to man alone, that he might thereby remind himself that God has created man for the express purpose of praising and extolling God. Music has this really unique way of going deep into our hearts and our minds, something that we can all as worship leaders see and empathize with, right? Luther went on to say to people who don't like music, this last quote. He says, a person who gives some thought gives this some thought, referring to music, and does not regard music as a marvelous creation of God, must be a clodhopper, indeed, and does not deserve to be called a human being. So that's what you can say to the next people who don't like music. You're a clodhopper. Sweet. Well, the reason I quote Luther, specifically, we're going to talk about him a little bit later, but he is actually like one of the forerunners, okay? And he's massively influential on even how we do church today at Redeemer. So the way we're kind of do today, it's going to be split up into two sections, and it's those two questions that are on your handout. And the first question is, how did we get here? So we're going to do some history. It's going to be like a history lesson. And then the next is kind of, now that we're here, like, what do we do now? Okay, so we're going to do a group activity. Don't look at your sheets yet, unless you already have. What do you guys think is the oldest song we sing at Redeemer? If you looked at your sheet, that's okay. Just say it out loud. What is it? When do you think Amazing Race was written?
17 something.
Yeah. Anybody else have a guess? Oldest song that we sing, written.
There's like an old hymn that we always sing. I just don't remember what it's called, but we'll sing it like at the end of songs sometimes.
Doxology, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
That's an oldie.
Yeah.
For show.
Mm.
One more person, take a gander or guess. The rest of you looked at the sheet, didn't you? Cool. Well, it's Be Thou My Vision. It's written in before 600 AD. They don't have an exact date. It was written by the Irish Catholic Church, which is really cool. So the Irish Catholic Church was actually different than the Roman Catholic Church. The Irish Catholic Church actually kind of did its own thing for a really long time, and they were actually really awesome. So they actually sang Be Thou My Vision in their churches, and it was in their own language, which was really awesome. But we're going to have an activity. So for the next 5 minutes or so, on your sheet, the second handout I gave you, there's the lyrics to Be Thou My Vision, and then also the newest song that we sing that was recently written, which is Where I'm Standing Now, okay? I think that's the newest song that we have. It was written in 2021, or 2020 maybe, I don't know. But we're just going to kind of do a little compare contrast just with the people around you, and just kind of talk about, like, what are the layouts of the songs, what's kind of the difference between them, like words used, themes, like anything that kind of sticks out to you, and just talk about it with your groups, and then we'll share. Does that make sense? You have any questions about that? No? Everybody have both the songs? Sweet. Y'all can rip the stapled papers out too if you want to look at them together. Cool. Well, let me give you guys 5 minutes. Y'all talk, mingle, talk about the songs. Cool.